I'm Erica Everett. I am Director of K-12 Sales for VictoryXR. And I'll just do a brief introduction to Victory. Victory's been in business since 2016. We're a premier provider of virtual reality and augmented reality content, as well as an immersive environment that we've created called VictoryXR Academy, in which teachers, educators at any level can bring their students in to our pre-created environments and use our thousands of pre-created objects. So with that said, that's a brief introduction to VictoryXR. Michael McDonald is our star today. He has been teaching in virtual reality for several years now. I'll let him tell a little bit about himself. He lives hails from England, London, outside of London, but he lives in Milan now. And he is just a wonderful teacher. He's taught several classes for us. He has one that we'll tell you about at the end of the webinar that he's teaching for us now. But with no more further ado, I'm going to let Michael take the floor now.
Alrighty, thanks, Erica. I hope you can hear me all well. If you can't, if I break up, just send me a message in the chat. And I guess that's rule number one. Agree with everything? No, don't agree with everything I say. Rule number one is if you have a question, please raise your hand, send a message in the chat, or let Adam in the door because he's just arrived. Please stop me whenever you like, and we will answer your questions because this is what it's all about. I think we've got a real mixed bag of people here today, as Erica mentioned a moment ago. I'd love to know a little bit more about you, what you're up to in the world of VR as well as we go through this next 55 minutes. And so it's not just about me. I'm just the guy that likes to put a headset on my face and teach some people who are prepared to listen to me. English is a foreign language in particular. And so I've got a few stories to tell, a few horror stories thrown in as well about maybe what you should bear in mind if you're going to launch yourself into the so-called metaverse. And I'd love to get your feedback as well about maybe what I did wrong in those situations. So I'm really going to try and give you something to take away today, some practical, concrete advice as if you were going to visit the Eiffel Tower and I'd give you a fridge magnet for you to put in your pocket or put on the fridge when you get back. So it's all about little souvenirs, hopefully, little nuggets that you can take away. So as Erica mentioned, I've been teaching for a good few years now. My first, real experience with, dare I say it, VR, and there'll be people wincing and turning in their graves as if I could even associate Google Cardboard as VR. But it was my first experience as, really trying to get my students back in, what was it, about 2015, 2016 now, an opportunity to immerse themselves in a way beyond 2D textbooks and photographs in, something closer to the English speaking world. And, that's really like been my bread and butter for the last, kind of 10 years, really professionally speaking, but 7 years or so within virtual reality sphere. So that's what I do. I teach people a foreign language, English in particular, in virtual reality. So I've kind of ridden the wave, the latest wave of virtual reality. Of course, it's existed for many, many decades, but I've ridden the wave really from kind of your Google Cardboard, Oculus Go onwards, Oculus Quest. That's been my personal journey. So please let me know in the chat if you've had experience with any of those headsets, what you think, and we'll come to the questions and points as we go throughout this session. Listen, I do have slides for you, but they're really just to contextualize some of the things I want to maybe talk about, and really food for thought as well for hopefully what will be a dialogue. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Just a couple of little things. I've already said who I am. Look, I think this is the real key thing is what are the problems that teachers and students face in education? Because it's the number of times that I've gone into a school, mostly in southern Italy, which is where I lived up until very recently for the last 10 years. The number of times I've gone into a school and people seem, people as in like, students naturally, but teachers in particular, very, very interested in the technology and very almost in a scary way, kind of enthusiastically trying to think, how can we, how can we kind of offer this to our students without really kind of asking me a lot of the times or showing me that they're reflecting on what the problems might even be in the classroom. I know they know what the problems are, you know, in terms of maybe understaffing, you know, teachers, they go home to their own families and busy lives and cats and dogs that need to be fed. And so, you know, life is busy for everybody. But I think sometimes, you know, when we talk about technology and where it can fit into the educational, you know, kind of sphere is, you know, you need to go back to basics and really think, what are the problems? What, you know, does technology really have a place in what we're trying to do? So for me, the problem was, of course, teaching a foreign language, English. When I say that, obviously it's not a foreign language for me. That's the, you know, a foreign language for the students. The problem is really not having the opportunity to travel to a foreign country like the UK or Australia, Ireland, and other countries around the world that, you know, they might be able to absorb some of that language in a more contextual kind of real way, as opposed to simply YouTube videos. So, you know, that was one of the big problems for me personally. That's where I saw VR fitting into it as a potential solution. So I promise you, and I say this right now in the first 10 minutes of this session, you know, I'm not wedded or married to the idea of, you know, VR as being like the ultimate, you know, goal for everybody in every sphere of life. At the end of the day, like I always say, and sorry if you've had this, you know, me say this before, but if you give me a tennis racket and a packet of Pringles and, you know, say this is going to help you teach a subject better than the VR headset, I'll put the VR headset, you know, in the cupboard or under the bed. I'm not that bothered really. I just see it at the moment as the best possible way to teach many, many subjects. And within, you know, my area of expertise, languages in particular, and we'll get into the kind of nuts and bolts of more specifically what that even means. But on a basic level, problems, you know, you can't get your students traveling physically to foreign countries to learn a foreign language. So why not use VR to maybe solve that problem and get them a step closer? And, you know, there are obviously more general problems as well, because I appreciate not many people, or maybe nobody in the house today is actually, you know, a languages teacher. So lack of time, communication, lack of understanding, you know, these are some of the problems. Could be like, for example, communication about maybe how certain theories or topics are taught, maybe even, you know, is the paradigm of teachers standing at front of class in front of 30 poor souls, is that paradigm even, you know, questioned in your institution where you are? Is it even questioned in your own mind when you go home from work? You know, these are the things that really get me out of bed in the morning. I don't really know 100% if what I'm doing is, you know, going to be what I'll be doing in 10 years, but I can see it solve some problems. So that's the angle that I come at all of this from. Okay, so if you go onto my website, goldlotus.co, that's goldlotus.co, or the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/VR English lessons. I'll put the links in the chat in a moment. You will see basically the spewing, if you forgive the terminology, the spewing of my brain. It's basically a commentary as the years go on of what could work and what might not work within VR. And you know, look, you're seeing a Divella. I don't know if they sell Divella in your countries, wherever you are in the world, but it's a classic brand of Italian passata or tomato sauce here in Italy. And, you know, the classic thing, you know, you give homework to little Johnny or little Sarah or whoever, they come in on a Monday morning, it's covered in, you know, Sunday dinner, you know, screwed up in their bag. And, you know, these are the types of things we're battling with. VR might be able to solve some of those problems in terms of maybe centralizing potentially, you know, certain ways people do homework, even, you know, digitally centralizing instead of handing in a piece of paper. Is it going to be something where, for example, you know, the student either on their desktop, if they don't have a VR headset, like most people don't, or in a VR headset, or maybe even on their phones, because Engage, a platform that we're going to talk about later, works also on your mobile device, if you didn't know. You know, is it something where they just leave, you know, a comment about something in the virtual space that they've seen, and you just watch back the recording of the comment? So, you know, I think there's real opportunity here to kind of take the whole kind of learning experience and way we deliver an education to the next level. But maybe we'll come on to that later on. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. You know, life isn't easy. You know, personally, I've put these pictures here basically reflect my personal journey. I won't go into this, but long story short, I've lived the world of a startup. That's the Soviet Union flag there when I tried to get someone to build me a website in the days before Wix. And I asked for Russian translations and they put the Soviet Union flag on there. And this is like in 2003, long after the Iron Curtain fell. I've been the teacher in France, wearing the hat where students don't want to learn in a physical bricks and mortar school. They want to play tennis in the summer camp in the afternoons. They don't want to be studying English with Michael. And I don't blame them. I'd rather play tennis myself. And then you've got the learner as well, in a school, there's some flapjacks there because, of course, we've all been students. And I remember once burning some food in a cookery class at school in the UK many, many moons ago. And I got absolutely, torn to bits by the teacher verbally for what I did, just because I simply didn't know how to cook the damn biscuits. I think we've all trodden different paths, and I think, if we can kind of involve all stakeholders at all levels, researchers, academia, startups, parents, students, everybody at all these different levels, as we approach this, big chapter of immersive education, I think we'll be better for it when we look back in the future. We've got a hand raised from Vivian. Welcome. You have something to say?
No, I just you said to put something, if we have a question, put it in the chat. I just
Sure.
put the link that you mentioned the YouTube link, and then your website. If you put that in chat, please, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I'll do that right now. Thanks, Vivian. Sorry, I missed your message there. Let's do that right now. youtube.com. Oops, youtube.com/VR English lessons. You can take a look at that maybe when we are talking. And goldlotus.co is the website. I can't type today, sorry, hang on. I just couldn't afford the domain name. I studied foreign languages at university, German, big dictionary. We moved on to the headsets. I've told you all of that, but let's get into the crux of it, the juicy stuff, and maybe give you some inspiration about how you might be able to use this technology and what it even means. Engage, Rumi, and AltSpace. These are 3 virtual reality collaboration platforms that you can meet in real time with people anywhere in the world. You can or Chris Kirby wants to come in. You can meet with people anywhere in the world. You create an avatar. You can access these platforms on 2D devices, your computers, your laptops, but also on your VR headset if you have one. And as I mentioned before, Engage has a smartphone app as well you can download. Rumi is something I've actually moved away from a bit more recently for no particular reason other than I just focused for some reason more attention on Engage and AltSpace. Rumi does not class itself as a social VR platform, so it's not really a place to go and meet, let's say, a kind of a flow of people that might be passing through the platform. AltSpace, however, is that. You can set up an event on AltSpace. Let's keep it to education. If you're teaching maths or something, you go onto AltSpace, register, you create an event where you want to, I don't know, even just talk a little bit with people about mathematical topics, if that's what floats your boat, and they can see that event published, and that can be private, it can be public. It's a really great way to kind of have a shop window to, let's say, cut your teeth, refine your skills in an environment where you will get people popping their heads in, and it will put your teaching skills to the test in the virtual environments. Okay, so I don't doubt any teachers listening to me now, your skills in the physical realm. I'm sure you're great. It's a whole different ball game when you plonk yourself in a virtual world. I'll share some stories with you about that soon, because it's an interesting ride. Let's just say that. If you have any questions, please leave a message in the chat. I'm going to share a little video with you now about Mozilla Hubs, which is another platform. And before I do that, I know that this webinar, and I just take a moment to breathe and just reflect, because this webinar is, of course, organised by VictoryXR, which collaborates with Engage, which is a platform owned by Immersive VR Education in the Cleeboy Business Park in Republic of Ireland. So if I haven't confused you yet, don't worry, we can put all these links in the chat soon. But Engage is a platform that I've got most experience on. I like it for many reasons. There are other things that I prefer other platforms for. And that's, you know, everybody is free to do this. I'm not here to plug anybody. At the end of the day, VictoryXR are doing some wonderful things, and they've built up a wonderful library of content. We're going to get into that as well a bit later as well, about actually the assets that you could use to convey certain topics in a virtual environment, because well, I won't talk about that in a moment because I'm interested to get your thoughts. But this is Mozilla Hubs. The reason I'm talking about this is because it's web-based. So in other words, you don't need to download any platforms to experiment this platform that we're about to see right now. It's just a link. So you go to, if you Google Mozilla Hubs, I'll tell you what, we'll try and multitask here. Can you do it as you can? Mozilla Hubs. Go and check that out. It allows you to create virtual spaces in, hang on a minute, he's clicking all kinds of buttons. You create a virtual space. You can then publish it to the web with just a link. So you share that link to your friends, family, students, or colleagues, and they can access it on any device pretty much. And if they've got a VR headset, they can fully immerse themselves in that virtual space. So it's really great. You can interact in real time with these people. And just to give you a quick flavor of what that might look like, we're going to press play. Oh, hang on a minute. I'll share the video. Share the audio. Share sound. So I was in Italy. The students were in Norway. We're meeting in real time. So here we are in Mozilla Hubs. This is a browser-based VR meeting space, and I'm here in Italy with some students. I'll pause that. I apologize. I personally can't hear the audio there. If you can't, don't worry. You get the general idea. It's effectively
in Norway. And you can see I'm using the pen feature here in Mozilla Hubs, and it's just a good way to focus attention on the spelling of words. And of course, this is Stonehenge that we are standing at right now. We move on in the video to seeing some more key facts coming out from this historic.
We've got a question that's arrived. Let's take a look at that. We can hear the audio, she says, so I apologize for talking over the audio, but you get the idea anyway. You've got a tool there, which is a pen. And if I give you, you try and teach something in a bricks and mortar classroom without a pen, it's a particular language. It's often an underestimated to spell words, or if you're a maths teacher, you need to show mathematical equations, I imagine. And it's no different in VR. And it's one of the things, this is, I think, the first feedback I'd give to you. And again, please write your comments to what I'm about to say in the chat if you're interested, or raise your hand. But, the focus, in my experience, when you're in these virtual environments, is very much on the spoken form of communication or listening. The written can only be achieved obviously with a pen, and we've got the pen there. Maybe typing on post-it notes. So some platforms like Engage allow you to type something on a post-it note and kind of show people that. But it's very cumbersome. Typing is very, it's a long process in like VR because you're trying to, you've got the keyboard, you're clicking all types of letters. The pen is a fundamental tool. So it's something personally that, I find is really, really important for teaching a foreign language. And I tell you, it has another important reason why that's an important tool is because you can break people up into groups, and you can get, okay, you guys go over there, you lot go over there, and we'll reconvene back here in 2 minutes. And you can just get them annotating even the space around them. So you really get them exploring the space. You can get them working, in a more kinesthetic kind of physical way, annotating stuff, circling things. You can even give them a task before. And I'm sorry to focus a bit on languages here, but you could say, look, we're learning about colors. Circle colors that, you don't know how to express, or circle, I don't know, particular verbs of moving things or something like that. So the pen is often underestimated, but, it can be a real friend to you in these virtual environments. However, people might be saying, yes, but maybe we should move away from the pen, and maybe you could just use your finger. Why stay with what works in the physical world in the virtual world? So, maybe we're going to evolve in the end just using your index finger, and you just magically count, draw in the sky. Why not? But fact is, a writing instrument is probably very useful. That's Mozilla Hubs. This is another platform. This is Engage. we've got a message coming here, so we're going to address that soon. And this is the platform what we're talking about with VictoryXR, okay? And this isn't a plug, this is the truth, because I'll say the truth. Nobody's, I think this is the most robust VR collaboration platform I've used over the years. Okay, how many of it I used? Probably a handful of 7 or 8 in total. There are many, many more than those. So I appreciate, I'm not giving you a kind of my summary of scores and scores of platforms here. But in my experience from what I've used, it's got a number of really key features that we used in the program that I delivered with VictoryXR about public speaking in a multicultural world. And we're going to look at some of those features in just a moment. But let me open up the chat. Love the pen. Thanks, Janine. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly there. Miss Leary. Pen's great. Pen's great. And I tell you what, you give someone a pen in VR, they just start writing everywhere. It's just a magical thing that happens in VR. This is Engage. Let's take a look at this. You can hear the audio, so I'm going to be quiet for about 60 seconds. Take a look at this.
You're now going to start saying about the Brazilian man who possibly invented the planes. So watch that part and I'll ask you a question.
Did you know Brazilians think it was a Brazilian who invented the airplane?
Oh,
he's called Santos Dumont.
Okay. What do you think about what you said there, Nate?
They say the Brazilian says, and that's wrong.
It is. You're right. What is the correct thing to say? Interesting. You're in the right direction.
Okay. I didn't hear that, but I think you got the idea. Engage has a great tool, which is the spatial recording function, if I've titled that correctly. The fact is it can take a recording of I'm not sure all attendees, certainly for most level of plans they offer, like I could record, I think, up to 20 people in the virtual space, including myself. So we were watching back what this guy Ney in Brazil was talking about. Let's let Daniel Conway in, he's arrived. There we go. I tell you, for like levels, hang on a minute, we'll let him connect to the audio because he's got to hear this. Old Daniel, he's just come in the door. Hi, Daniel, welcome. We're talking a little bit about the Engage platform. Oh, God, there's Eric Mason's coming as well. Eric, Daniel, welcome. They've just come in the door. We're talking about Engage, which is a platform, if you're not familiar with, go and check them out. I'm going to write it in the chat, ENGA. Oh, come on, Michael, ENGA. It's by a company called Immersive VR Education. They partner with VictoryXR, who kindly put on this webinar, and thank you, Erica, for organising that, and Ty for your support alongside her. But check out Engage, because one of the key features that we've just seen in this video is that you can watch back a recording of what you just did in virtual reality. You can stop the recording as many times as you like. And it's a really great way to take students on what we would call an education, it was told to me, the voyage of discovery. You not telling them, no, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. Let them listen to why they justified or how they calculated 1 + 1 = 3, and then get them to tell you it means 2, 1 + 1, I think. So, that's the key point. It's an opportunity for you to avoid the friction of, justifiably so, asking parents and school leaders for permissions. Can I record your students who are 14, 15 years old in a classroom? There's a little bit of, sticky ground in terms of legal aspects, and justifiably so. You're going to have to ask parents permission, etc., etc. However, asking and I would still recommend that you would want to at least, share what you're doing on such a program with the parents. But if you said to them, listen, we want to do a recording of your students' avatars in this virtual environment, you can give them a quick flavor with some images of what it might look like. You might get more buy-in as well from the students, parents as well, and the schools as well, in terms of, them feeling a bit more at ease rather than their real faces. So, as I said, this webinar is coming at it from different angles. I've tried the startup thing, and the reason I'm in Milan is because I took up a full-time job at a university to help pay the bills. So you decide if it went well or not, but I've had the startup hat, I've had the teacher hat, I've had the student hat, the language student hat, and I've also dipped my toe into the world of academic research as well, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. So a bit of a jack of all trades, and there's no shame in that from me. Maybe you see shame in it, but I want to make that clear to you. I'm not an expert really in anything. I've just built up a good number of years teaching and trying to craft, VR teaching in these environments. So I've got a few stories to tell, but much of what I say about my personal experiences, or almost everything, is not backed up by any science. I will underline that as well, because I do think it's important for us to, consider and understand what is the research base telling us about what works and doesn't work in education before we start fanfaring about it. So if someone thinks I'm, eulogizing or celebrating a bit too much about this technology, don't worry. I'm going to give you some bad news a bit later on. I'm not seeing your chat messages, says Denise. Well, you know why? Because I think I've been sending it just to VictoryXR. Silly me. So I'm just going to...
I haven't seen the link. You said I heard you typing the link to the...
Yeah.
I didn't get anything, but I thought maybe something was wrong with my computer. I don't know.
It's not you, it's me.
Okay.
As they say. Can I ask a favor from Erica? If you could just copy and paste the stuff I've been putting in the chat there, just to save me some energy, so that everybody can see what.
Let me see
appreciate
if I can
that.
see it. I don't see it either, but let me see. Oh, here we go.
All right.
VictoryXR. Let me see.
Good. God, you're all so polite. It took half an hour for this to come out.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the
no,
link,
what
but
if I?
But just send them.
link
If you
in
want to send them
particular.
again, I'll put them in.
Yeah, so you should be seeing them now. Give me a yes if you can. Immersive VR Education. Okay,
Yep.
good. There's my website. We've got youtube.com/VR English lessons, where you can see just over 130 or something videos of me prancing around the metaverse. Which sounds odd, but it is purely for educational purposes. So there's some resources for you to take a look at. Oh yeah, and the other one was Mozilla Hubs, which is a platform which allows you to access VR spaces just through a web browser with no downloads, which is another thing to explain to the parents when you're saying, listen, we might want to try this in the classroom. There's no downloads required. It's a link, so you might get a bit more buy-in from them as well. Welcome, Monica. How many people have got in the house? We've got 16 people, including me, Erica, and Ty. Who knows if we'll get to 20? Let's hope so. Fingers crossed. So that's Engage. So features, platforms, hubs, and Engage. We've seen two of those kind of different, categories: web-based, links, WebXR, and platform-based. We've seen features. We've got pens. We've got recordings of your avatars. I'm a teacher, love that. I know the students found it very helpful. Do you think it's a good idea? Write yes or no in the chat. And if you say no, I'm going to be coming to you and asking you why. The dimensions of global competence. Let's move away maybe from the platforms for a second and, just reflect a little bit on, maybe the bigger questions here. We're not just potentially using this technology to teach a subject or a topic or something. We're here, we've got real opportunity, I guess, to squeeze much more value out of it and try to connect people in real time, as we said, with those platforms I just mentioned, like we are now on Zoom. but why not use the technology to get students, I don't know, in wherever you are in the world? Let's ask Vivian. Vivian, where are you in the world?
I'm at Morehouse College.
Morehouse College?
Yes.
Wow, you guys are the experts. You should be talking, not me.
Well, we're just getting started. Well, I'm just getting started. They told me to start. I was sent email to look at this to sign up for this webinar. So it's my first webinar.
Okay. Is it going well so far? Say yes.
I don't know. I just got into it. I just signed up to be one of the teachers to do it. I'm in foreign. I teach French, and so I'm trying to see, because they're going to give us a series of lessons on how to manipulate and everything. So I'm getting introduced to it. I'm a novice.
Yeah.
Just started.
Okay. Well, this time in a couple of months, I don't work for VictoryXR, but I'm inviting you to doing a webinar with VictoryXR. Let's hope we can get that over the finish line. Look at that. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, Janine, and hopefully I'm not getting your name wrong. Otherwise, you're going to have to unsubscribe. But I appreciate that. Look, they're all trickling in now. What a great day this is. So look, we're not just teaching subjects. We're not just teaching topics. We're also potentially thinking about cutting a lot deeper. As I said to you before, I'm not married to the technology. I just see it as the the go-to tool at the moment for achieving certain learning goals or teaching goals, or both. Who knows, where this train will take us. But I'd like to think that on the journey, if we could connect students, even teachers, professional development, who knows, maybe get the parents involved, get them in on an afternoon, when it's a quiet afternoon. I don't know what you do, parent-teacher evenings, stick a headset on their face and, get their impressions. It's all a big conversation. So, everyone's involved. And it's just a little graphic, I guess, that, helps us focus on, I guess, the interpersonal nature of VR and what it can offer you, because that's really where the value is for me. It's about connecting people. And the course I delivered, which was 5 weeks long with VictoryXR, and it's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here now babbling away at you all, is, it was an opportunity for us to not just use the wonderful library of content that VictoryXR has built out. And I mean that, right? They've got a monstrous collection of 3D objects for you to use in your teaching. And if Vivian teaches French, she knows all about the magic that can happen if you take in a French coin. Well, unfortunately, I don't have francs these days, do they, in France? It's the euro. But if you walk into a French class with, I don't know, a French newspaper and maybe a €1 coin of the French country on the back and something else, it's a real tangible, connection to the country, and a real stimulus for conversation and exploration in the subject, as opposed to books. But can you imagine in VR having any 3D object you want to bring at any time? And that's what VictoryXR allows you to do. Engage has got a pretty decent library, dare I say, I think VictoryXR's is better. So congratulations on that. It's humongous. So there we go. There's a great book that I'd recommend to people. You can see the title down here. It's by Professor Rose Luckin, who's at University College London. And this is what we're talking about. It's not just about virtual reality. It just opens up the conversation to whole other realms, like artificial intelligence in particular, and also the nature of human interaction, the nature of computer-human interaction, like the social element, I think, is really something we need to run with. And it's very interestingly highlighted in that book by Professor Rose Luckin, Machine Learning and Human Intelligence. Let's quickly copy that. It's a very accessible book in the sense, although she's very well respected in the field of AI, it's really down to earth language. So go and check that book out. Welcome Eric Mason from MSU Denver in the house. Well done. And thankfully I'm pronouncing Janine's name correctly. We've got Denise saying she's at Jarvis Christian University, Hawkins, Texas. So it's lunchtime for you, dinner time for me. Don't worry, we've got 25 minutes left. You can run to make your food. Using VR this summer with Upward Bound program in science class. So we've heard a little bit about Vivian with French at Morehouse College. Denise, are you willing to share a little bit with us about what you're going to be doing this summer with your science classes?
Sure. It's going to be very interesting because our science teacher is not going to be with us. So now I have to figure out how we're going to use these devices. We bought about 50 VR headsets, and I know we're going to have a software. So that's why I'm here, trying to learn how we're going to use it. And then we may even do some other things, play games and things of that nature, because we have them for a summer residential for 6 weeks. And they have classes every day, Monday through Thursday. So we got a lot of activities. And so we want to put these to use.
Yeah. Wow. Good luck with that. And, you know, it's the big old question, you know, what are we going to do? It's, believe it or not, the easy thing is building a VR space, you know, on a platform, you know, like Engage or wherever. That's the easy thing. The real difficulty is like, okay, now what do we do when everybody's in there? And I've had a very easy life in a sense using this technology, because I've never had to I've delivered many programs using the technology, okay, VR in a language learning context, but I've never had to do it within the framework of let's say a public school, an exam body where they're going to be tested robustly, the students at the end of the program, at the end of the year, and those grades count for that year and the year after maybe. Like, so I've had a great luxury, and I'm completely transparent about that. It's the real question is, you know, from wow to how do you get these people from the wow factor? Okay, this is great, but how do you get them passing exams? How do you keep the school boards happy? How do you keep the parents happy? That is really, I don't have the answers to that, but what I can say is really understand the technology in terms of the platforms. What tools do they have? Do you have your pen? Do you have your 3D objects? Because I can assure you, if you don't have any 3D objects at your disposal, you are effectively just making use of the environment around you, which isn't a bad thing. You know, it's great, but you might find limitations in terms of maybe how you want to convey particular concepts or messages. For example, in science, I know VictoryXR have got a wonderful database of 3D models related to biology in the body. And actually I used that in the public speaking course to kind of deconstruct the anatomy of conversations with regards to ears, the eyes, the mouth, the heart, the stomach. What do you feel when you communicate? So, you know, if you think outside the box a little bit, you can use even scientific 3D models for many other subjects. So that's what I think what VR allows you to do is really try to look at things conceptually in a slightly different angle rather than being confined to the 2D textbook, which has a place. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it, but, you know. All right, let's crack on.
So we focus on tutoring and helping students that are in subjects that they're struggling with. How do you, when you have students at so many different levels, because we have high school students 9 through 12, and and we have to separate them. We have to have different objectives for each level. Have you seen that or worked with that before?
Yeah, that's a great question and a horrible question to answer, because it's really difficult. You know, the question was, if I understood correctly, and jump in if I did, but how, you know, the question of different levels. How do you teach different levels of students? So, look, I can talk about my own personal experience, okay, only, and I can maybe suggest things for other subjects. When I'm teaching a foreign language, I know who's going to be in that classroom first. So I've got that luxury. And I guess most of you already know who's going to be in your classroom anyway, whether it be virtual or physical. So I've never personally found that many times when there's a real diversity in levels of a particular understanding of the subject. However, I will say that in AltSpace, for example, one of the other platforms I mentioned, I'll give you the website, don't worry, it's coming, altvr.com. On that platform where I said about this passing, you know, traffic of people, you get everybody turn up there with all different types of levels of language. And that can be a challenge. I think it comes down to the ingenuity of the teacher. I think that's really, it's how well a teacher can manage that from a language perspective. it's just about being aware, I guess, of the different levels and trying to involve people and maybe speed up to not bore the advanced people, but also slow down at times. It's understanding the dynamic of what you're teaching. I think it's not really related to technology. It's probably, the answer is related to, the teacher themselves. But this other platform here is Rumi, Doghead Simulations. I'll say that again. You heard me right. The company's called Doghead Simulations in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. I like this platform because of its simplicity. And, there's a lot of research to say that the Daniel Conway has subscribed to you on YouTube. Daniel, I love you as much as Janine. Some of the research out there says that exposing people in virtual reality to, let's say, very realistic scenes, like let's say hyper realistic, like the more real it seems and the more things going on is actually can be quite detrimental to the learning because of the cognitive load. So you're actually like overburdening the brain with too much stuff going on. And there was an interesting research as well done, I think it was I don't know if it was published or not, but out of Carnegie Mellon University, Cassandra Eng is her name. I'll try and dig up the link somewhere because I'm talking off the top of my head. Thanks. Cassandra Eng, Carnegie Mellon University. Check her work out. She's doing some Carnegie Mellon, I think, is that how you spell it? Anyway, that's how you spell her name. And she did some interesting research where she basically created this. She had this VR book, like VR storytelling experience. And then she took out for very young learners, like we're talking 2 or 3 years old, I think. And then she took out some of the stimulus in the book. And the learners actually learned more of a language because they were focusing more on the concepts that of the language, as opposed to being, let's say, romanced by the wonderful graphics and things. So despite us going in a direction, and particularly with like Unreal Engine, maybe you've heard of Unity and Unreal Engine, these kind of engines to create virtual spaces and experiencing games and stuff. Unreal Engine has got some unbelievable levels of like complexity and like a hyper realistic environments and stuff. But it's not to say that it's actually good for the learning experience. So as I'm going to show you here in this video, and I'll be quiet for 30 seconds, you can just see how simple it is.
Oh yeah,
bring it up.
Nice. Oh there. Oh.
So let's jump on the tube.
Let's go.
So hold on tight, everybody, because it's moving quite fast. What do you think is the advantage of a tube versus a bus?
Okay, so it's basically like nothing in it in the virtual space, which isn't a problem because I just brought in 3D model of a tube train and a 3D model of some barriers, to get onto the tube or the underground system, whatever you want to call it. And that was it. So don't worry if even you build your own VR experiences or, content, it doesn't need to be, complex. It doesn't, as long as it hits that learning goal, you've done what's required. So don't let anybody put you down that you can't build, amazing quality stuff. Just, sticking in a 3D model in some, in a virtual reality field or beach can get you a long, long way. Bit of research if you do think about it from a million years ago, but it just caught my eye not so long ago. The products of ethnography, the study of culture, is less important than the process of observing, participating, describing, analysing, interpreting. And these verbs here are really what encapsulate the spirit of VR, in my opinion. If you disagree, please scream, shout, or write a dirty word in the chat, and we can come to you and listen and understand why. It's all about participation. It's all about describing, analyzing. And maybe that's where we're going with VR. Like maybe we don't need to have these robust testing. Maybe we don't need to monitor, like the gaze where they're looking at, for example, particular times. maybe it's just enough to stimulate conversation, if particularly with language learning, or maybe just immerse them in these numbers that are flying around them. Could be about algebra or some kind of theorem in mathematics, something that's going to stimulate the interest that maybe you can just take back. Maybe it's a 15-minute experience. You just go back to the classroom, take off the headset, jump back into the book, but having that, versatility with the technology in line with the tools that you're required to use as part of your day job, maybe in a school or university. I think that's where the real magic happens. It's not about replacing everything. It's about, weaving it into a way that is, adding value to the learning experience as a whole, because I don't have problems with textbooks, I promise you. If you have any questions, please stop me. We've got about 15 minutes left. Don't be shy. Keep the subscriptions coming in. Yeah, we're back in Rumi. I decided to embark on a very tumultuous and treacherous journey in the world of academic research. Don't ask me why. It might have been the Italian red wine after all these years of being here, but I respect anybody that's published, because it's a whole world of pain, especially when you consider VR. I got to the point where, with Dr. Andrea Reves, a Hungarian lady, but she's very well known in the world of task-based language teaching, that's TBLT, professor in London, University College London's Institute of Education. We basically plan most of the research study to get students giving virtual guided tours on a virtual platform, Rumi in this case, to teach a language. So it was providing students a contextual way of learning and teaching a language, because we know from the research that, scaffolding or structuring language learning in phases, like a pre-task where they absorb what native speakers would say, and then a task where they would then actively use that language, and hopefully using the language they absorbed in the previous phase. We know that that's, a pretty kind of effective way of structuring a language learning experience. But the point of this is not to say about the research, which I'm still trying to get over the finish line, because we're trying to find some schools to get involved, because COVID obviously put a big spanner in that works. But the point is, more feedback for you, from my personal experience. I think try to reach out to people in your local community, whether it be online or, physically, geographically, that understand research, that are maybe at universities, they're studying, they approach things from a very different angle, because it's very easy, as I did, to get, you get very easily swept up in, let's say, the razzmatazz of the technology. But I don't see a lot of people necessarily trying to understand, what actually really does work in their fields, scientifically and on an evidence-based level, and where you could maybe build and exploit those areas, because that's where, again, you might be able to find value and real value to offer to your students. Yeah, we're doing this research, and we might have found a school in Greece to help us to do this, but I'll keep you updated in the next 10 years if I manage to succeed. We've seen that video. Can I promote something apart, because I haven't promoted my YouTube channel and I haven't promoted my website, so I'm also going to promote this. Drop the controllers, forget them. You now, with some of the VR technology, can use your hands, okay? And this is the concept. It's more of experimentation with me. It launched on Kickstarter and it raised approximately 50 euros, which, if that's alien to you, is about $45 US. So, it's better than nothing, but we could have done better. And we didn't hit our target. Our target was not $45. So this is being recorded. This is being burnt in history. But I'll just give you a quick taste of what this app's like, because again, it's going to be maybe food for thought as to where you might want to, deploy VR potentially in your subject area. Who knows? So let's take a look at this. I'm just using the hands, the cameras on the front of the VR headset are sensing where my hands are. I'm just categorizing verbs here. So Vivian teaches French. You could be doing verbs like, I don't know, I can't even remember any French, to be honest. But anyway, you could be classifying your IR, ER, and RE verbs, or whatever they are in French. You could be teaching maths. I don't know, it is, categorizing different theorems, or, is this answer correct? 1 + 1 is 3. No, put that in the red bubble because that's wrong. The technology's out there, and I'm still on the hunt for a technical co-founder to help me continue building this out. So if there's anybody that understands Unity, please get in touch, because this is evolving, this project, and I want you to come on board. So there we go. I'll stop plugging that. Has anybody tried hand tracking before in VR? If you have, leave a comment, unmute yourself, or raise your hand, and we'll come to you and listen to what you used. I'm just going to pepper you now with a few more things. Actually, this is very focused on language learning, so I'm not even going to touch that because most of you aren't. But the point is, look at the research, understand what works in the physical world, what doesn't work in the physical world, because you might be able to translate some of that stuff into the virtual world as well. So that's going to give you some constructive things to consider as well. Accessibility. Let's talk a little bit about accessibility. I told you about Mozilla Hubs before. I used that in a program with a school in Italy a year and a half ago, where for 6 or 7 months with different cohorts, first question was, how can we attract more more tourists to your region in southern Italy? I mean, basically southern Italy is, its whole economy is effectively tourism. And museums, infrastructure, better signposting, like loads of ideas came out. And then the next thing was, well, okay, you're now going to go into Mozilla Hubs and build out your 3D virtual world to attract more tourists to your region. And I tell you what, it was a wonderful experience because we had people building stuff to promote food culture, giving like information on, cultural heritage and the evolution of different food and things like that, and cakes. We connected it to UN Sustainable Development Goals as well, to just kind of, again, try to cut deeper, like I said to you before. The element of getting students to create their own content was wonderful. And I will say that even if platforms like Engage and AltSpace don't have, let's say, an engine like you can see here, this back end of Mozilla Hubs allows you to bring in 3D objects. You can build whatever you want. Although Engage and AltSpace and other platforms, like, for example, don't maybe offer you that functionality, you can still do it because, in a different way, you just bring in some 3D models on the other platform, you can build out a little experience. So, just reflect on that. As I said before, it's all about the ingenuity of each individual teacher. I'm going to finish up anytime soon, but one of the things that came out of this is this castle at the bottom, which is an octagonal castle in southern Italy. The young student couldn't find the castle on the 3D model website. So what did he do? He built it himself, and it was absolutely wonderful to see. And I think I'm almost done, but I'll finish with this story, as if you hadn't heard enough stories already. I used to work with someone in France, and he used to work for a charity in Ghana in Africa. And he said to me once this interesting story about how they were tasked to build a school or a library, I can't remember what, but a building basically in a village. And they had some more budget and more time left over. And what they decided to do as a surprise to the village was to gift them a water well. This isn't the photo of that exact water well, but they basically decided to give them like easier access to water in their village. And they unveiled it at the same day as they unveiled the school. And there was an uproar of mostly the women in the village that were saying no, like they were not happy with this. The reason was actually a question for you. Why would they not have been happy that the charity had built a water well in their village? Any ideas?
Listen, wouldn't it take their jobs away? In some countries,
Ooh.
The job of the women was to go and find water and carry it. And it usually is a long way away from the village. That's just a guess. I don't know.
You are You're stealing the show now, Vivian. You've hit a nail on the head. That's pretty much the answer. It was that in the 2 or 3 hours one-way journey that it took the villagers, the females with the children, they take the young kids on the long old journey to get the water and back again. It was in those 2 or 3 hours, like one way and 3 hours back, that they would educate their children. It was the moments where they had time away from the village elders to educate them, to share stories about the past, to help them in other aspects of their life. So I think it's a great example. It's always stuck with me when building, virtual experiences. Is I'm not saying ask everybody and every stakeholder first about, at every step, is this what you want? Is this good? But certainly involving them in the conversation, even when you think, like in the case of the water well, that you're doing something good or beneficial, academically speaking, or beneficial in terms of student engagement. Just always consider the people that you're involving and building these environments for, and want to teach the people you want to teach to. Everybody should have a voice, and sometimes it can be, let's say, misplaced time and energy investment and maybe money investment in doing stuff. For example, buying 30 headsets for a classroom when you don't know what to do with 2 headsets. Something that, calm down, Michael, we've got 2 minutes. You're doing so well. It irritates me, I'll be honest, when schools want to buy like 30, 60 headsets. And it's, have you really in a laser focused way understood how it's going to work with, 5 students? Because there's nothing even wrong breaking 10 students into, a group of 10 students into, 5 headsets, and one of them on the headset explains what they can see in the headset to the other person. I mean, with creativity, with one set, with 30 people, you could probably do some pretty decent things. So that's the point. It was just a story that remained with me, and I wanted to share it with you because maybe it's interesting for you. I do want to finish off with not another plug of what I'm getting involved with, but VictoryXR, in addition to the wonderful things that they've been, that I mentioned before about the assets and, various courses as well. So check out the VictoryXR website, and Erica or Ty, if you could put the link in the chat, would be appreciative. They've also got a micro certification course, which I think I'd like Erica to step in now, because it was something that I found about very recently. And I'm hoping that, you can get me involved in this, because these micro certification courses could be some real good currency for people who want to build out their experience in VR from an educational standpoint. So Erica, what's that about?
Sure. Yeah. So we decided to develop a micro certification course for teachers who want to teach in virtual reality. And you don't actually have to be a subscriber to our service. We do have various different things you can do as far as if you want to become a part of our academy for 1 year. The micro certification course will be included in that, or you can just do the micro certification course on its own. And it will basically train any teacher at any level. We're going to gear it to whatever level the teacher is obviously teaching. It's going to show you best practices and ways that you can, get a certificate and be able to then start exploring how to teach classes in any of these environments that Michael has described today, whatever platform you want to teach in, whatever headset you want to use, because there's obviously various different kinds. We can always recommend which kind we feel are the best, because we work, VictoryXR literally works with every single company headset there is. And we also work with some pretty big partners. You've probably heard about our partner with Meta. We created the world's first metaversities, Morehouse College, and we have someone on today, or at least a few people from Morehouse College. We created these metaversities in partnership with Meta. We're also partnered with Qualcomm, T-Mobile, and HTC Vive. We're partnered with some very, very big people, and we're creating virtual reality content, digital twin campuses, we're doing a lot in virtual reality. So we felt like this micro certification course would be great for anyone who wants to just learn from us. And so I'm going to go ahead and put, you have our website, but I'm also going to put just a general email, because there's people from all different grade levels and universities and what. So this will go, if you email sales@victoryxr.com, we'll get you to the right person. If you have any questions about that course or anything that we do, just email us at that email and we'll kind of send you to the right person. And thank you, Michael, for your, graciousness to do this class today. It was awesome. And definitely keep in touch with Michael via LinkedIn and his website and all his various things. He has a lot of knowledge and is very gracious in getting back to people. If you have other questions outside of today for him and for us as well, please reach out. Someone will get back to you very, very soon. We're very good at getting back to people within usually a couple of hours. And thank you everyone who has attended today. We're going to have more of these. We also have classes. You can, on our website, you'll be able to see some of the live classes that you can sign up for. If you just want to see what those look like, what other people are doing, other teachers are doing in virtual reality, you can attend those classes and kind of see what they're doing, give you some ideas. And I appreciate everybody attending. And thank you again, Michael.
No worries. Can I, Eric, just to address a few very final questions that have come in, and I will let everybody go.
Sure.
Bobby mentioned a trip to get to water is a social experience. Love that, absolutely. Daniel said he's enrolled on the course already. Daniel has, so congratulations for that. He's subscribed to me on YouTube and he's enrolled on the course this evening. He's been a busy boy. And we've got who else have we got? Denise has asked a great question. When building content, are there templates to help you? Yes. Engage has many templates. Get in touch with VictoryXR because they've got loads of great spaces that you don't even know about and I've seen. So get in touch with them, and also Mozilla Hubs. And there's loads of resources online. So thanks everybody. Thanks Erica. And reach out to me if you've got any more questions. All the best.